small, well, still, like, my dad owning his own house was really important to him. You know, the way there's some people like that, they want to know that the rooms they're sitting in belong to them and that the, like, ground below them and the roof above them is theirs. It kind of seemed like a really kind of an alignment of things when we found the house we moved into when I was 9. It was an old house, and we didn't actually buy it outright, but we leased it for 999 years, which was good enough for Dad. And we got it at a really knockdown price because there had to be a lot of renovation done, and also because when you signed the lease, there were certain conditions that you had to fulfill. And some of them were like really, really sensible, like don't be going building mad modern extensions on the lovely house, like, or any decorating you do has to be in keeping with the style and the period. And then there was the bathroom clause. That was a really, really weird one. Anyway, the house, it looked, I don't know, kind of, houses don't normally look sarcastic, but this house kind of did, because it had like these big Georgian windows with ledges coming out, and in the morning, swallows would perch across the ledges and just give it real angry eyebrows. And Mum hated them because they'd like poo down the window, and she always had to clean it because it doesn't look really good if your window's streaked with poo. But the house was really, really cool. It was really different. There was like a circular room with curved walls. That one was full of bird skeletons. They flew down the chimney and then they couldn't get back up and they just died in there. So we had to move that out. And there was like a long, thin, rectangular room, and we didn't really know, like it was about as wide as a person, so we didn't really know what it was for. There were no windows in it. And there was a star-shaped room that I really, really wanted to be my room because I was like 9, and it was a star, and so was I, and all that kind of thing. And then there was the ensuite downstairs. That was my parents' room. They had a big, beautiful room with loads of light and an ensuite bathroom. And then there was the upstairs bathroom. That was the bathroom that the bathroom clause was about. The clause, it just stated, we weren't to use the upstairs bathroom between midnight and 1 a.m. That was just a rule. No going to that bathroom. We could go down to the ensuite, but then like that would wake my mum, and she's a really, really light sleeper, so we just didn't drink after like 10 o'clock at night, which was fine, and we got really, really used to it. And after a few weeks in the new house, we cleaned out a lot of the bird skeletons, and some of the rooms were habitable, and it was really, really nice. Myself and my little brother John, he was 5 at that stage. We were sharing a room because our rooms hadn't been done up yet. But we were right beside the upstairs bathroom, and my parents were downstairs, and we had a sitting room, and we had a kitchen, and we had a big kind of empty room that might be a dining room at some stage, so we'd enough to give a party. And all my aunts and uncles came, and Auntie Mary brought her kidney bean salad, and Auntie Nancy brought her death by chocolate, and Nana brought nothing, but we were delighted that she was there. And it was lovely. And my parents stayed up until about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, singing songs and carousing and talking about old people stuff like babies and mortgages and weddings. And I went to bed early and stayed up late in bed reading. So it was... It wasn't surprising, like on a night like that you'd forget to do something that you would normally do. And no one would expect a child to know an adult thing, like a thing you'd only read in a newspaper or learn about on TV. Like, you couldn't expect a child to know that kind of thing. You couldn't, like, not at 9. Anyway, we had a big glowy clock in our room to remind us when it was, safe to use the bathroom. I might take a minute there to explain why the bathroom was kind of like, I always feel like it's capitalized in my head, like the bathroom. It was perfectly white and perfectly square, and it had cornicing all around the roof. And the floor was slightly raised, and there was a clawfoot bathtub in it, and a big kind of rectangular old-fashioned sink with copper taps. And in the dark, the plug holes looked like eyes or mouths or something. But the weirdest thing and kind of the most interesting thing about it was what Dad called the gargoyles, but I don't really think they were gargoyles, because gargoyles are supposed to have bodies, at least in my head. Like in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the cartoon, gargoyles had bodies. So I just call them the heads. They kind of grew out of the cornicing like old-fashioned hunting trophies. There was one in each corner. There was the goat. The goat had long, curved horns that kind of turned into ivy halfway down and flowed into the cornicing, and it had a long, thin face and loads of needle-sharp, needle-thin teeth, and a pointed beard, and its eyes were very deep-set, but they were shaped like crucifixes. And the goat always seemed to me like a mask, like something else was hiding behind it, something scarier, maybe. I don't know. It was a goat. We called it the goat. So the next fella was the tiger, because that's the thing it most resembled. It had the two, kind of feline face flaps. But it was like a tiger made of tumours. It was very bulgy and flappy, and its eyes were kind of very deep set, but kind of looking out at an angle. And it was kind of the friendliest looking one, the tiger. The next one was the bird, and the bird had a very, very long, very pointed beak. And when you looked at it, you got the distinct impression that if it was to open its bird mouth, that there would be a forked tongue in there. But sure, obviously, I wasn't allowed to get a ladder and go up there with the pliers and see for myself. But, that was the kind of bird it seemed to be. But the last one, I've kind of saved the best and the worst for last, really. It was the woman. And the woman was just a woman. She's a beautiful woman with high cheekbones and kind of a little round nose and lovely big eyes and a very, very distinct, a very mouth-shaped mouth. She wasn't the kind of beautiful that I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be beautiful like a Disney princess, the kind of beautiful where you get to wear big dresses, but not the kind of beautiful the woman was. So back to that night. And John was in bed and I was in bed, and I'd fallen asleep with my book stuck to my face when I got a little tug. And he didn't tug on your sleeve, he just tugged on your skin. He called it tugging, I called it pinching. And he said, Deirdre. And I was like, what? Is it safe to use the bathroom? And because John was only 5, so he couldn't read analog clocks. I could, because I was 9, I knew stuff. So I looked up at the clock and it was 11. So yeah, I said, go on, take your time. So off he went, and I kind of didn't really wait for him. I just fell back asleep. And in the morning, I woke up and I looked across. His bed was here, and my bed was here, tucked against the wall, and I could still see the kind of indentation of his little child, his little 5-year-old's body in the bed, and the kind of part where he'd snuggle into his pillow. He was a great snuggler, John. And I just had a thing. I wanted to find him because he wasn't in his bed, and kind of ordinarily that's where he would be of a morning. So I got up and I checked the star-shaped room, and I checked the long, thin, rectangular room, and I checked the kitchen, and I checked the sitting room because that's kind of the obvious place for early morning cartoons. And I even had a peep in Mum and Dad's room, and I tiptoed all the way into their ensuite. And I checked every room in the house. I even went back to my own, our bedroom, and I looked under the beds, just to Raglan and Hogla. But then I went to the bathroom, and I opened the door, and I looked around, and it was white. And it was square, and the 4 heads looked down from the cornicing. And I closed the door behind me, and the plug holes were dark, like mouths. And I looked at the door, and I'm an adult now, so if I was to scrape a door, it would start at the top, but John was only 5, so there were scratches kind of like slightly higher than a dog would do, and a lot deeper. I kind of looked at them and I thought, how could a kid's nails make those? They seem like something harder would be needed, like bone or something. And I rubbed my hand along the scratches, and the splinters dug in under my skin. And normally, when I got a splinter, Mum would take it out with tweezers, but I kept these under my skin for a good long while after that, until they fell out naturally. And I looked at the scratches, and I felt kind of watched. And I turned around, and the woman was there above the toilet that flushed with the chain, looking down. And her face hadn't moved. She was made of stone, it couldn't, but I knew that she was smiling.